Who are the most loved players at every single club in the Premier League? The last video we did is the most hated players at every single club, but now let's go on the nicer side of life and do the most loved players. Thank you for the suggestion in the comments down below in the last video, Papa Ventrix, who suggested doing the most loved players, and that's what we're going to do right now. Make sure you drop a sub if you haven't done so already. Leave a comment down below of any future ideas that you have for me for future videos, and also if you agree or disagree with anything that I say in this video. Let's get into it. Starting off straight away, it's Arsenal. Now, the most loved player at this team it could be anyone at the moment for Arsenal. I have to go for one man only. It's Saka. Bukayo Saka is the most loved player at Arsenal for many, many reasons. He's carrying them in the big moments, especially in the last game. At the time of recording this was Manchester United, where he scored that absolute screamer to get them level. He's just becoming a big game player every week, especially with their push on for the Premier League title. It's hard not to love him. You know, the way he carries himself, the way he plays the game, everything about him is all positive, and he's just a nice guy. Everyone loves a bit of Saka. A very close second is Odegaard. I just want to put that out there. I do love Odegaard. They are the two players that I love the most at Arsenal, Saka and Odegaard, but I think Saka just edges it. Next, we have Manchester City. There's only one player for me that I love the most at Manchester City, and that is Phil Foden. For me, he's got undeniable talent, and maybe this is a hot take, especially with the fact that he's not playing at the moment. I think he was dropped injured as well. If he wasn't in the matchday squad for the Wolves game. But for me, Phil Foden has undeniable talent. In that caliber and category of player, I think he does edge into the top of those as his ability. He might not get the stats to match that, but his ability is undeniable. As a guy, I probably wouldn't get along with him, I can't lie, but as a footballer, I love you. The next person, obviously, I'm going in league order, is Newcastle, and it's Joe Linton. Joe Linton, I don't personally love Joe Linton. I just love the story of Joe Linton, and I think you will love it as well if you're a true football fan. You will love the story of Joe Linton. He was down and out. He wasn't the right guy. They signed him for big money. He didn't work out. He was going out the door. They adjusted his position. He became a newfound player, and now he's playing left wing. He's played centre mid. He's played everywhere now, and he's finally performing. Now he's creating an impact for Newcastle, who are doing incredible things at the moment. So Joe Linton, you're on my list, and I couldn't think of anyone else. You know, Saint-Maximin is loved, but Joe Linton's story is the thing that I'm here for. Manchester United, and it's Marcus Rashford. I'll be honest. I put my hands up here. Marcus Rashford came onto the scene, I don't know, what, 2016, 17? I can't really remember properly. But he came onto the scene, and I hated United. I had a really hate, but that's not this video. It's not about hate. It's about love. It's all about love, man. And I didn't like Rashford because he was doing so well for United. He was saving them in moments. I remember he came on the Europa League, scored in his debut. Premier League, scored in his debut. England game, scored in his debut. He was scoring everywhere, and he was helping United too much for my liking. So I had a bit of distaste in my mouth towards Rashford. But then as time's gone on, he's an unbelievable player. He hit some form, then he dropped massively, and a lot of people thought he was going to be done. It was around that lockdown period where he was doing great things outside of football, but his actual performances on the pitch did decrease quite drastically, and everyone thought, what's going on here with Marcus Rashford? Is he going to be good enough to continue in the Premier League at the top flight? And he said, hey, you lot who didn't believe in me, you're idiots, because he's doing incredible. He's literally, I think, reaching a caliber at the moment for Manchester United that, you know, puts him on a level par playing field as like Ronaldo at the time as he was there. Like he's doing a madness. Like genuinely, what they could potentially push on to do when they do improve the squad a bit more with Rashford hopefully maintaining this form, and also for England that could be fantastic for us in the Euros and the future World Cup. Marcus Rashford's on fire. So, you know, he's the most loved player. Every United fan loves him, and he's the one that's really dragging them up the table right now and really, you know, leading the line for Ten Hag's side. So, Rashford, you're on the list. Spurs. And the person for me, if you know me, you know who it's going to be. It's Harry Kane. Harry Kane as a footballer is exceptional. I know I've said this word a few times. A lot of these loved players are the ones that are really brilliant at football, and also I've got a personal love for. Harry Kane shouldn't be able to do what he does on the football pitch. He's one of the best passers of the ball in the league. He's one of the best finishers of the ball in the league. He's one of the most versatile players, I think, in the league, especially for his position. He carries Spurs time and time again. Recently just scoring the 1-0 win against Fulham. Of course, a bit of taste in my mouth when it came to the World Cup. Penalty miss. He did score one prior to that, but he did let us down. I'm not going to beat around the bush there. He did let us down. But I can't sit here and say that I don't love this man. I love Harry Kane. You know, people that make comments about him, people that say he's overrated, people that say this and that, I think is absolute nonsense. He deserves every single applaud that he gets. I really do hope that he gets that top goal scorer boot. He probably will get it from Alan Shearer, because I don't think Haaland will stay around long enough to get it. And you know, people say he's a waste of space. He's useless. He's never won a trophy. He never will win a trophy if he stays at Spurs. For me, I don't care because I'm not a Spurs fan. Harry Kane, if he gets top goal scorer of all time, it puts him in folklore forever. Let's not be around the bush. Of course, not winning a trophy will be a bit of a downside to his career, but personal accolades and his ability, He's not going to be like a streets won't forget player. He's going to be in everyone's mind forever. Harry Kane is etched in history. Not just for Spurs, but for the Premier League. Like he's an exceptional talent. Okay, and I don't want to hear anything else otherwise from any other person. Harry Kane, I love you. All right, let's move on a bit faster now. We're going to Brighton, and of course I'm a Palace fan, so I don't love many Brighton players. But I'll tell you one player that I do, don't have any distasting feelings for is Mitoma. I can't lie, I like Mitoma. Yeah, I don't like any other Brighton players. When I did the last video for hating players, it was very quick and easy. It was Lewis Dunk. This one, I just had to look around the squad and I was like, you know what, don't mind you, Mitoma. You're going in the list. I love you. Kind of. Fulham. Again, Fulham, a lot of these teams, I don't necessarily have a person that I love from, it's quite hard to name someone from each team, but I have to say, I don't necessarily agree with this narrative, but I know a lot of people will have a lot of respect and love for Mitrovic right now. Of course, was kind of discussed as being down and out and not good enough for the Prem. He was obviously exceptional in the Championship, but a lot of people said he wasn't good enough for the Premier League. And he's proven this season that, he's not just good enough for the Prem, but he's very good enough for the Prem. He could even go to another team. Like, he's a Premier League player. He's proven finally. He's had a few attempts at it. Obviously, Newcastle when he first came around, and then Fulham when they came up and then got relegated again. He went to the Championship, scored 40+ goals, something like that. He scored a crazy amount of goals, come back to the Prem, and he's performing. I personally don't have a care for Mitrovic, but I know a lot of people will have a love for Mitrovic for proving the haters wrong. I do think maybe he needs to continue with this. If he doesn't do this next year, then it is about form, but hopefully he continues with it next year and he can carry on showing that the haters are wrong. Next up, Brentford. I'll be honest, I don't care about Brentford at all. Personally, for me, I think I love Ben Mee. This is stupid, but the main reason I think I like Ben Mee the most is those stupid TikToks. The ones where the commentator says, great block by me, and then someone does a TikTok saying, why does the commentator think they just made a challenge? Like, it's stupid. I don't really have any other Brentford player. It would have been Tony, but then he did his betting scandal thing, and he was in my most hated players for being a naughty cheater and breaking the FA rules. So Ben Mee, you're somehow on the list. Next up is actually quite an interesting one. It's Liverpool, and I'm not the biggest fan of Liverpool. If you know me, it's clear. I found it easier to name players I didn't like. But there's one player that I do actually like. It's Alisson. Alisson, I think, for Liverpool fans as well, will go down on the list of one of the most loved players. Of course, since this Klopp tenure, when he came in, he did drastically change things for them. Obviously, making a step up from Mignolet and Karius to Alisson was astronomical. He's a fantastic goalkeeper. I always had a conversation about Ederson and Alisson and who was the top one. I did edge Ederson for a long time. I do think now in hindsight that Alisson does edge it a little bit more because he's probably a bit more competent in goal. They're both incredible goalkeepers to make incredible saves time and time again. But I do think Alisson maybe just edges it in that conversation. And I think if you look through that squad, I don't know if it's because I don't hear many interviews from him, and the only interviews I did hear from him was during that lockdown period where he had a horrible time, obviously when his dad passed away, and he scored that header. Like, there was he had a lot of good moments there for Alisson. People might say Salah's the most loved player, Van Dijk, but a couple of them have discrepancies about them that I personally have a bit of a grudged feeling to them, but there is undeniably no fault of Alisson. So yeah, Alisson, I think I love you. Chelsea, this is quite an easy one. As a Palace fan, ex-loanee last season, Conor Gallagher. Conor Gallagher came to Palace on loan last season and took the league by storm. It was unbelievable what he did for Palace. He's a workhorse, and that's one of the main things that I love about players when I watch them time and time again, week in, week out, is workhorses. If you run the length of the field, if you put 110% into the performance, you're going to get the love of the fans instantaneously. Obviously, he got a little song to go along with it. Two goals against West Ham really, started things off for him, and no one expected him to be as good as he was. Unfortunately, he did go back to Chelsea, and he's been a bit part player at the moment. He's more consistently in the team at the moment, but hopefully, he might return one day to Crystal Palace. I remember I said that about Loftus-Cheek, and I never saw him return. So I doubt we will see Gallagher at Palace ever again. But you know what, Gallagher, I love you for what you did for us. All right. Now you go and take on the world. Next team, Aston Villa. This one I struggled with, I can't lie. There's certain teams that I don't have much love for at all, and I know people will agree as well. Like, you just have a, impartial. That's the word I'm looking for. But you know what? I do quite like McGinn. McGinn, on paper, he shouldn't be, even linked to a move to Manchester United that he was linked to a few summers ago. He has a wonderful left foot on him. He's scored some beautiful goals. And when it comes to betting, it's quite fun because he normally gets yellow cards and cards. So that's a cheeky little bet that I normally put on. Remember, 18 plus and bet responsibly. But I do like putting that on. Again, maybe a shot on target outside the box and a little cheeky yellow card. Thank you, McGinn. You're on my most loved list because you made me £1.50 one time. Thank you very much. Next up, my team, Crystal Palace. Who do you think it's going to be? It can only be one man, can't it? Wilfred Zaha. He is undeniably the most loved player at Crystal Palace. Any proper football fan can see that he's the best player outside the top 6. He's done incredible things, and there's no doubt in my mind and many other Palace fans' minds that we would not be a Premier League team if it wasn't for Wilfried Zaha for a numerous amount of those seasons in our Premier League run at the moment. He's exceptional. He's unbelievable, and I think most Palace fans will also agree. He's 30 years old now. If he does want to leave, and if he does leave, this might be the end of his time at Palace. None of us will hold a grudge to that. He's worked phenomenally for us, drawing fouls, scoring brilliant goals, especially within the latter stages of his time at Palace at the moment. He's turned up the gear when it comes to scoring goals and finishing. I love Zaha. I always have. I did actually meet him once. Here's a little picture. Funny story, actually. I actually saw him in a shopping centre near where I live, and I walked past him in Zara, and I looked at him. I was like, oh my God, that's bloody Wilfried Zaha. And I was with my mate, and my mate said, do you want a picture of him? And I was like, oh, he's too far gone now. So we tried to catch up, but we didn't want to run, so we were walking. So we actually kind of like followed him around the shopping centre until he turned around and said, mate, do you want a picture of me or something? Like, what's going on? Why are you following me? And it was a bit awkward, but I got a picture anyway. So thank you, Zaha, you absolute legend, and we love you. And wherever you go, if you do leave Palace, I will be getting on a plane and watching that game. So hopefully you go to like a nice team in Italy or something, so I can get a pizza on the way. Thank you, love you. Next team, Nottingham Forest. Now this one's a really quick one. It's not really a love situation, but it's Nico Williams, and the only reason why is because of what he did in the World Cup. He played his first game against Wales just after his granddad passed away, and it was quite a sentimental thing to see his reaction after getting the draw against United States of America. That's the only reason he was on the list. I don't have much love for Nottingham Forest players, but that was quite, a sentimental, heart-tugging moment. So you're on my loved list. Next is Leicester, and it's Jamie Vardy. I don't think anyone can go for anyone else, really. I know he's a bit of a shithouse, but it's a fun shithouse. Like, you expect it from him. But the thing with Jamie Vardy that I love is what he did was actually will never be seen ever again, I don't think. Obviously, Leicester's achievement will never be seen again, probably. But what he individually did in that season, scoring X amount of games in a row, winning the record for that, winning the Prem, from non-league to Premier League, has a Red Bull before every game. Like, he doesn't fit the grain of what a modern striker is. But Jamie Vardy, you're on the love list because you just did it time and time again. Obviously, age has caught up to him, and he's lost a bit of pace, and he's not as good as he was, but he's on this list, no doubt. That season was probably one of the best of all time for a striker. One of the again, guys, it's about stories. All right, like Joe Linton has a story, like this person has a story. Jamie Vardy's story is unbeatable. It's unbeatable. You're on my loved list, but you are a shithouse. So you push it sometimes, but I'll let you off. Next up is Leeds. This is, again, a team that I don't like at all, really. I don't care for Leeds one bit. So I'm going to go speak in the mindset of Leeds fans right now. I'm going to go for Rodrigo. I think Rodrigo would be the most loved player at the moment for Leeds fans. He's scored time and time again this season. He's even been someone that I've looked for my FPL team. Should I bring him in? A bit of a cheaper option, blah, 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 blah. He's performed really well this season. He was brought in, obviously, in the Bielsa era. Didn't do too well when he came in, but he's performed much better now. So he's on my list as the most loved player for Leeds. Next up, we have West Ham. This is another really easy one for me. It's Declan Rice. This goes down to his personality and his performances. Someone even said that I look like Declan Rice. Let's just look. Do you think I look like Declan Rice? He's right there. Do you think I look like him? Probably not, but anyway, I don't think I do, but someone tells me I do. I really like him as a person and a player. He plays really, really well, of course, and he does well for England as well as West Ham, and hopefully he will get a move, and hopefully he will continue being one of the best DMs in the league. I do have a lot of love for Declan Rice, and his and Mount's relationship in the England setup as well. A lot of these players will have, be in the England side because that's where I, watch them and have the love for them outside of the Prem. But yeah, Declan Rice is on that list. And I think out of West Ham, there's no one else really that is as likeable as Declan Rice. So he's on the list. Rice, baby. Last few now, we're going to go over to Wolves. This one I did think there'd be no one for. I didn't think I'd have anyone for this one, but I do. And it's Raul Jimenez. Jimenez obviously had a horrific injury and he was performing well. So it does have a lot of like sentimental, nostalgic value to like he was so good and had a horrific injury. So I do have I feel bad for that moment. So I have a lot of love for him. He's come back, and he's not as good as he was, and Wolves are in a bit of trouble at the moment. So hopefully I don't really care if Wolves go down, but Raul Jimenez, if you do go down, hopefully you have a great end to your career. I don't know. I don't really have anyone else, so I went for someone that, at least I have some feeling towards. Other than the rest of that team, I don't have any really feeling at all. Especially not for Adama Traore, the greasy guy. Why has he got so much oil in his arms all the time? That's one of the weirdest things. Maybe I should have the weirdest players of every single team, because Adama Traore literally lubes himself up before he plays a football game. It makes no sense. so that someone can't grab onto his arms. It's weird, man. It's weird. Anyway, moving on. Bournemouth, there's literally no one for Bournemouth, but I did scratch my mind, dig deep into the memory banks, and I thought of one person, Stanislas. Because he did that one corner goal against Manchester United when I didn't like Manchester United. Was it a corner goal? He scored loads of free kicks at one point as well, and he definitely scored a corner goal, and I think it was against De Gea and obviously Manchester United. That's why you're on the list, Stanislas. Everton, this is really simple for me. It's Jordan Pickford. I have a lot of love for Jordan Pickford. There's a thing that I do quite often is when players get a lot of hate, I tend to counteract that energy with maybe excessive support for that person. But I think Jordan Pickford gets a stupid amount of disrespect, especially for England. People saying he shouldn't be in the side, and if you go into Everton, like, he does make a few mistakes, there's no doubt, but there's a lot of keepers that make many mistakes in the league. He's a goalkeeper that can make a save that only like the top 10% can make. Do you know what I mean? He comes out with saves that are only the elite can do. But then he does make a mistake that, you know, the elite wouldn't make. So he has mistakes, he has good times, but a lot of people just focus 100% on the mistakes. And I'm like, mate, look at this, look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. He's clearly a very, very good goalkeeper and is undeniably good with England. I do have a lot of love for Jordan Pickford. You know, like the ones that say he's got little arms, like, leave him alone, man. Leave him alone. Last team, and it's Southampton. This one's a funny little story. So the person is Che Adams. Che Adams, there's only one reason I love this player, because they're about to win me £50. Yes, you heard that correctly. My brother-in-law made me a bet, made me a bet that Che Adams will be playing for a top 10 team by the end of this season. So if he doesn't make a random move to one of the top 10 teams in the next week at the time of recording this, well, Southampton are bottom of the table, mate. So I'm going to be 50 quid out. Thank you, Che Adams, for not being that good of a footballer. Thank you. I really do appreciate it. Really, really do. So yeah, that's the end of the video. It's a bit of a funny one, of course. The loved and the hate players. They are personally more mine, but then also I have delved into, you know, more the unanimous ones. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Leave a suggestion down below of what future idea you'd like me to do. Obviously, the most loved players, most hated players. I will be doing the most overrated players in the future as well, and underrated and stuff like that as well. Make sure you subscribe. I'm trying to get as many subs this year as possible. I'm enjoying doing these videos. And again, leave a suggestion and comment down below of anything you disagreed with or agreed with me in this video. Thanks for coming on through, and I'll see ya when I see ya.